All right, so here we go. This is our second slope intercept form review assignment. So if you're watching this, you should have already watched the video going over the first assessment based on your results. So please do not skip steps. If you got a 7 out of 12 and now you're going to take this, but you don't know why you missed the 5 questions that you missed, you're not going to do any better this time. So please do not cheat the system here. So right now we are going to be looking at these questions. So we're going to start with our first question, number 2. So this one's asking us to compare two functions. So it tells us when Marco's family moved, the tree in their backyard was already 4 feet tall. So that seems like a starting value. So when we go to write our equation, that is going to be our initial value. And then it is growing at a rate of 3 feet per year. Well, that's going to be a rate of change. So our rate of change is going to be attached to a variable. So this is going to be 3x. And then our initial value is added on at the end. So that's going to be plus 4. So that's going to be our equation. We go down here and they give us the equation. So they use different variables, but it's the exact same thing. This is like saying 3x. No, that's not like saying 3x because that is a 2. That's like saying 2x plus 5. So when I go and I look at both of these, I already know that the rate of change of this one is 3 and the rate of change of this one is 2. So I know that function 1 has a greater rate of change. So this one says function 1's rate of change is greater. This one says function 1's rate of change is greater. This one says function 2's rate of change is greater. Well, can't be that. This one says function 2's rate of change is greater. Can't be that. So then we go to look at our initial values. The first one says that function 1's initial value is 1 foot less. Well, this is a rate of change that's 1 foot greater and an initial value that's 1 foot less. So answer choice A is what gives us our comparison there. So when you are working on those, you need to be very careful to make sure that you are analyzing which piece is going to be your slope, your rate of change, and which piece is your y-intercept. That word per there is always going to tell you what gets attached to the variable. So in number 3 here, I'm looking at a graph where I have a positive slope because it's going uphill, and I have a negative y-intercept. So I know that my equation, before I even look at my answers, is going to be y is equal to something x, and my y-intercept is down here, so it's going to be something x minus 3. We don't know what that slope is yet, but that slope's going to go there, something x minus 3. So I'm going to go to my answer choices, and I can cross out this one because it's plus 3. I can cross out this one because it's plus 3. So looking here, the only difference is 6 over 7, 7 over 6. So again, they're trying to make sure you know that it is change in y over change in x. It is your vertical change over your horizontal change. So when we go look here, this is a point that's perfectly on the line, and I don't think we get another perfect point until right there. We'll find out. So I'm going to count my vertical change first. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then I'm going to count my horizontal change. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when I go to fill in my slope, it is vertical. Vertical. So that is 7 over 6 horizontal. So that is going to give me y is equal to 7 6x minus 3. So that is answer choice B. All right, let's keep going. All right, so here it's asking us for the rate of change. Anytime it asks us for a rate of change, all we need is 2 points. So I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to take this one. I'm going to write them out as 0, 60, and 250. So I've got x1, y1, I've got x2, y2. So in my numerator, that is 50 minus 60. In the denominator, that's 2 minus 0. I want to be careful here. I'm taking away more than I started with. 50 minus 60 is going to give me a negative 10, and 2 minus 0 is going to give me a 2. So a negative divided by a positive is always going to give me a negative, so it's not that and it's not that. I have to be careful that I don't just pick my numerator. This is negative 10 divided by 2, so my slope here is negative 5, and I go and right there I have a rate of change of negative 5. Now remember, if you had your calculator, you could actually take these, you could plug them into L1, you could take these, you could plug them into L2, you could hit stat, you could arrow over to calc, you could go to 4 and hit enter, and it would give you a slope of negative 5. But remember, you know how to do all this stuff, and that is what is so great. So this is a great question. If you missed this one, that is okay. But let's think about some things that we know. So these are equations in slope-intercept form. So this is going to be a slope. Well, we know a slope is the change in y over the change in x. So if we look up here, they actually give us some information about x changing and y changing. It says that every time x increases by 4, y increases by 3. So that is actually a change in y of 3 over a change in x of 4. So that right there is going to be my rate of change. So that allows me to eliminate this one and also this one. So you got to be careful there. They give it to you in an xy relationship, but slope is always change in y over change in x. So your slope there is going to be 3 over 4. So now you need a y-intercept. So here they give you an xy value. This is an ordered pair, 8, 7. So this is going to be your x, this is going to be your y, this is your slope, so it's going to be m. So we're going to use y equals mx plus b. This whole review unit is about this equation. My y value here is 7, m is my slope, so it's going to be 3/4. X is going to be 8 plus b. So don't freak out because you have fractions here. This is 7 is equal to, I'm going to multiply my numerator, so 8 times 3, so this is 24 divided by 4 plus b. Well, 7 is equal to 24 divided by 4 is 6, so that's 6 plus b. Then I want to get b by itself, so I'm going to subtract 6 from each side. So I get that my b value here is positive 1. So I look up here, this is the one that has my b value of positive 1. If you got this one wrong, it's great. This is one of the more challenging questions on here, so I hope you've watched this, you've seen this, but you know this stuff, and it's okay. This is a challenging one, but stick with it. I know you can do this. So here we've got another question that's asking us to compare two different data sets. So we've got information about Danica here in a table, and here we've got information about Kevin in a graph. So it's asking us to compare the reading speeds of Danica and Kevin. So it's talking about each hour, each hour, each hour, each hour. They're asking us to find the slope here. So when I'm looking here, all I need is 2 points to find the slope. So I'm going to take 2 points for her. So I'm going to use 3 and 120. And I'm going to use 6 and 240. That's x1, y1, x2, y2. So in my numerator, that's 240 minus 120. In my denominator, that's 6 minus 3. So 240 minus 120 is 120. 6 minus 3 is 3. So 120 divided by 3, well, 12 divided by 3 is 4, so that's going to give me 40. So Danica reads 40 pages per hour. So now I'm going to go figure out how fast Kevin reads. So I'm going to use 2 ordered pairs here. And again, I can't count this because it's not counting by ones. This isn't 1, 2, 2.5. This is actually 50, 50, and 25. So this is actually 75 here. So I'm going to take my values here. I'm going to take 290, and I'm going to take 5, 225, And again, I've got x1, y1, x2, y2. This is going to give me 225 minus 90 over 5 minus 2. Well, 225 minus 90 is going to give you a value of 135. So I'm going to take that 135 there. Oh, yeah, because that's 90. That's not. Oh, yeah, look at that. Those aren't even those numbers. So we got 225 minus 90. And then we've got 5 minus 2. That's going to give us 3. So we've got 135 divided by 3. So what we're seeing here is that Kevin reads 45 pages per hour. So it wants you to compare their speeds. So Danica reads 40, Kevin reads 45. He's reading faster, and he's reading faster by 5. So which one says that? It says that each hour Kevin reads 5 pages more. So that is going to be our answer there. And you can get this vertically from the table. This change in y here is, in fact, going from 90 up to 225. So that is 135. This is going from 2 to 5. It is 3. Change in y over change in x is 45. So you can get it from here as well, but it makes more sense to use your slope equation. So again, we have a question that's asking us to compare two different functions. So start this one by going to the answer choices and figuring out what it is that you need to compare. But hold on one second. I'll be right back. All right, sorry. I got a phone call about something in my family, and I have no idea what I was talking about beforehand. So I assume we were talking about comparing functions and how we should look at our answer choices beforehand to figure out what we need to know. So this is asking us to compare the rates of change, and all we have to know is whether or not the rates of change are positive or negative. So this is very easy. So we go here, we look at this equation. Here we go. All right, so apparently it's not meant to be to get through this question. Okay, so if we're looking right here at function 2, they give us the equation. Well, I know that the rate of change is attached to the variable. So right there in front of that variable, I see a rate of change of negative 50. So function 2 has a slope that is negative. So function 2 negative, okay, A is good to go. Function 2 positive, not good. Function 2 positive. All right, so now we have to figure out function 1. So we've got a table here. These are going up, and these are going up also. So we should already recognize that this is positive, but let's take 2 points anyway. So 0, 100, and 1, 150. We know that 150 minus 100 over 1 minus 0 is going to be 50 over 1. So that's going to be a positive 50 slope. If you look at the context of the question, it also says he is adding $50 per month. So function 1 has a positive slope, so we are with answer choice A. All right, thanks for sticking with me on that question. All right, so again, before you start the question, figure out what it is asking you. So we have 4 different people here who all have different suggestions for what the y-intercept is. So it's tempting to say this one because you see the 0 here, but remember the y-intercept is the value of y when x is 0. So the x, in order for this to be the y-intercept, the 0 would have to be over here, and the y-intercept would be over here. But since they gave us the 0 over here, that's not helpful. So if we need the y-intercept, the only thing that we really know how to do is find our slope. So I'm going to take this point here and this point here. So I'm going to do -4, 0, and -2, -1, x1, y1, x2, y2. So in the numerator, I'm going to have -1 minus 0. In the denominator, I'm going to have -2 minus -4. Well, -1 minus 0 is -1. -2 minus -4 is -2 plus 4, so that is 2. So we have a slope here of -1/2. So this is already going to be y equals -1/2 x. Now we need to solve for our y-intercept. So y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to use negative 4, 0. So I'm going to have this as a 0. My m here is my slope, so it's going to be negative 1/2. My x here in this ordered pair was negative 4, and then it says plus b. So right here, I know that 0 is equal to, well, negative 1/2 times negative 4. Negative times a negative is a positive. What's 1/2 of negative 4? So we got 2, and we have positive 2 because of the double negatives. So that's 2 plus b. To get b by itself, I subtract 2. I subtract 2. So I know that 0 minus 2 is negative 2. So my equation is negative 1/2 x minus 2, meaning that Grayson here has the correct y-intercept. All right, so in this question, we have an equation. They give us y is equal to 128 minus 8x. So we have a y-intercept of positive 128 and a rate of change that is negative 8, which makes sense because we're starting with some juice and we are taking some away each time. So right now we are looking at a situation where it is asking us how many ounces of juice are in an unopened bottle. Well, that's how much there is to start. So that's 128. So if you put in 128, you got the correct answer. It does say to to use the correct place value. So if you put 128.0, that was also correct. But again, if you want to know how many juices are in or how many ounces are in an unopened bottle, it is asking you for the starting value. All right, so on this question, a little bit unfair to give it without your calculator because you do see here it's asking you to model the line of best fit. So we know that when we're modeling a line of best fit, we can take our x values and put them in L1, our y values, put them in L2, and then solve. But we can work our way through this. We're smart. So we know that we're either going to be looking at a positive or negative slope of 1/2. So let's grab a couple ordered pairs here and just see what our trend is. So let's maybe take 1059. That's that first one on the table. Let's take 1558. And that's going to give us 58 minus 59 over 15 minus 10. So that's going to give us right here a negative 1 over 5. So that's not really any of them. So let's keep looking for some. Let's take some more maybe from the middle of the table. And remember, these are approximations. So this is what makes the use of the calculator here really nice. So I'm going to pull maybe this one and this one. So let's do 1657. 25, 54. So that's going to be 54 minus 57 over 25 minus 16. So 54 minus 57 is going to give us a negative 3, and then 25 minus 16 is going to give us a negative, it's going to give us a positive 9, so we're looking at negative 1/3. So I'm going to continue to look at my values. I can tell that this is constantly increasing, these values. So as I look at these values, they are constantly decreasing, so I can be pretty confident that I have a negative slope. So I'm going to go ahead and eliminate here. Answer choices B with its positive slope and answer choice D with its positive slope. So now we need a y-intercept. We're basically trying to figure out, we're going to take negative 1/2 of the x value. We're either going to add 55 or 65. So I'm honestly just going to start testing some. So I'm going to take this one. Well, my x value is 30 here. If I do negative 1/2 times 30, I get negative 15. Well, if I add 55 to that, I get 40. And if I were to add, what's my other option? Isn't it 65? Yep, if I were to add 65 to that, I would get 50. Well, my y value here tells me I'm supposed to be at 52. So that's closer to adding 65 here. Let's look at another one. So let's try the 50. Let's do negative 1/2 times 50. So that's going to be negative 25. Let's add 55. And when we do negative 25 plus 55, we get 30. And if we were to add 65, we'd be at 40. So when we're looking at our table, we're supposed to be closer to 40. So adding 65 seems to be the trend that's getting us closer to our answer. Again, if you were taking a test on this, you would have a calculator. You would be putting L1 into, or your X values into L1 and your Y values into L2, and then running your program to get your equation. All right, so this is one of those questions where they give you the table and the table confuses you, but it tells you that the line of best fit for the data is this equation right here. So basically what they did is they took this data, they put this data into L1, they put this data in L2, they ran the equation, and they got y equals 0.48x minus 2.97. So X here in our table is our days after planting. So that's going to be days. Y is the length. So what our equation here means is that, and this doesn't really make sense because this makes it look like it started with a negative length. Well, the vine didn't start with a negative length, but because they've approximated the data, this isn't really a realistic value. But basically, it started at some value, and each day it's growing by 48 hundredths of a centimeter. And the reason I know it's growing is because I have a positive slope, and I also look and all of these values are increasing. So I'm going to go to my answer choices. What says for every decrease in the number of days? It doesn't even make sense for days to decrease. Days only pass. They go forward in time. So 1 and 2 don't make any sense. The next one says for every increase in number of days by 1, the vine length increases by 1. Well, no, it doesn't. Every increase of days by 1, the vine length increases by 48 hundredths. And that happens to be answer choice D. So answer choice D is our correct answer there. All right, so we don't need the answer choices to do this one. It is asking us which linear equation is graphed below. So I already know I'm looking for one that has a negative slope. I already know that my y-intercept is up here at 8. So this is y equals negative something x plus 8. So I need to figure out negative what is my slope that gets attached to x. So I go here and I look at my answer choices. Well, look at that. That's not my right y-intercept. That's not the right y-intercept. That's not the y-intercept. So I don't even have any options. Let's make sure that negative 1/2 works. So that means I should be able to start at this point and count down 1, 2 to the right, down 1, 2 to the right, down 1, 2 to the right. So every way along there, I have the same slope of negative 1/2. So I hope everyone was able to get that one. And if not, I hope you see that once you identify that y-intercept on this question, you already had the answer. It's the only one that says plus 8. All right, this one tends to get people because they don't really know what information's being given. So it tells us here that each x value is a number of miles driven and each y value is a cost. Well, what they've actually given us is an x value and a y value and an x value and a y value, and they've asked for an equation. So I need to write an equation in slope-intercept form, and each one of these sentences is actually an ordered pair. That first one is saying I've gone 2 miles. Well, if x is the miles driven, that's an x value of 2. Well, the cost of the 2 miles was $3.90. So my first ordered pair is 2, $3.90. Well, I need a second ordered pair, so luckily they tell me about a second situation, a 5-mile ride. So that's an x value of 5, costs $7.50. So that's 5, $7.50. So if I look here, this is a slope of 1.2, this is a slope of 1.2, this is a slope of 3, this is a slope of 1.5. So if I get the slope, I'm at least going to be able to eliminate some of my answer choices. So I've got x1, y1, x2, y2. So I'm going to take 750, I'm going to subtract 390, and I'm left with 5 minus 2 in the denominator. So that's going to give me 750 minus 390. So I'm going to have $3.60 left here. And then 5 minus 2 is 3. Well, 36 divided by 3 is 12. So that is 1.2. So my equation is y is equal to 1.2x. I still need a y-intercept. So both of those have x attached to 1.2. That would have a slope of 3. That won't work. That would have a slope of 1.5. That won't work. So now I'm going to take one of these ordered pairs, and I know that my slope is a value of m. So I'm going to write y equals mx plus b. I'm going to use this ordered pair here. So I'm going to say $3.90 is equal to my slope, which is 1.2 times x, which is my x value for that ordered pair, plus b. Well, this is going to leave me with 390 is equal to 2.4 plus b. And when I subtract 2.4 from each side, I get that b is equal to 1.5. So this ends up being plus 1.5. So remember, the order doesn't matter as long as the slope is attached to the x. So I should have 1.2 attached to the variable and then my initial value of 1.5. All right, so this is the last question for this situation or this unit, and everyone tends to mess this one up because they're not reading carefully. It says that Ingrid types faster than 50 words. She doesn't type 50 words, she types faster than that. So I need to go through each one of these, and I need to find a slope that is not 50, but greater than 50. So I'm going to go to my first one here, and I've got ordered pairs of 3, 120 and 5, 200. So that's going to be 200 minus 120 over 5 minus 3. So that's going to be 80 over 2. So in this one, this would only be 40. That is not fast enough. It's not answer choice A. So I go here, I'm going to use 2 100, I'm going to use 5 250. So that's going to be 250 minus 100 over 5 minus 2. That's going to give me 150 over 3, which is 50. This is tempting. This is 50 words per minute, but that is not faster than 50 words per minute. It is 50 words per minute, so that cannot be correct. So then we go on to answer choice B. So I'm going to take 2 and 50, and I'm going to take 6 and 150. So that's going to be 150 minus 50 over 6 minus 2, which is 100 over 4. This person's only typing 25 words per minute. That is not anywhere close to more than 50. So this is going to have to be our answer. Let's prove it. So our ordered pairs are going to be 1 100 and 2 200. So that's going to be 200 minus 100 over 2 minus 1. So we're going to get 100 over 1. This person is typing 100 words per minute, which is significantly faster than 50. So that has to be Ingrid's graph. So at this point, you've done a couple things. You have already reviewed your, you've watched some review videos, hopefully. If you didn't watch those, chances are you had a rough time on the first one. You took a first Canvas quiz, you watched a solution video for the first Canvas quiz. You should have only been watching this if you had already taken the second Canvas quiz. Now you've seen the solutions. So what's going to happen next is a third Canvas quiz about the same information is going to pop up very soon. I'll email you when that is available. You're going to take that, and again, there's going to be a solution video. After that, we are going to shift gears, and we're going to start talking about solving equations with variables on both sides, as well as looking at graphing systems of equations. Where did the two lines intersect? So keep doing a great job. I bet you guys are as bored as I am, so hopefully you're learning a little math and keeping your brains a little bit moving. So hope to talk to you guys soon. Bye.